Okay, now we're going to go in and explore the multidimensional model. Okay, we're going in and I'm going to remote it into another box down here. And what I've got open is Mathino Group member server, and I'm into the analysis services. And I've got my OLAP. This is the standard, what we used to always call SSAS database up and running. And if I expand out my cubes, here's my operation cube, which I just went in and I right-clicked on it and I said browse. And that gave me this window down here. Let's clear the results here. So now once I'm into the cube and I look at my measures, I can expand out my measures, and here's my folders, and expand out sales, and we'll take sales amount. I'm going to right-click that and add to query. And sorry, there she is. She's up and running. It took a little bit of time. I don't know what the issue was there. But now we'll slice it with dimension. So here's my geography. And if I drill on down here, I can take, for example, state, province, name. And I'm going to right-click that. I'm going to add that down there to a query. And here's the state, province, name. And here's the sales amount. Now I'm going to dump that on out. And there's my sales amount once again in aggregate. So I can come down here and here's a hierarchy. You see the triangle. So I'm going to right click that. I'm going to say add to query. And now here's my data by the aggregation down here of hierarchy. Let's clear the grid again and look at something else. Now let's go down here again and look at sales. And let's look at sales return amount. I'll add to query and quantity. And I'll add that to the quantity. Now we'll go up and we'll use a dimension filter. So let's do this as a filter. Again, we're going to come down. Let's take geography. And we'll take the geography hierarchy. And operator is equal to. And now we're going to come down here and I'm going to pick this out, pull down my down arrow. And I don't want all. We want something interesting down here. So let's go down. We'll take North America and Europe. And I'll say OK. And now I've got my sales return amount, and it's filtered out here. So now I've got North America, and see down here, I got sales amount for North America and Europe, same down here because she's filtered. Now again, if I pull this on down and I dump out Europe, and you see the sales return amount and the sales return quantity has changed. And that's applying this here as a filter, which by the way is as close as we get in MDX to the concept of a where clause in SQL. So now let's go in and see if we can take a better look at this, and we're going to open Visual Studio. So I'm going to click Start, All Programs, and if I can find it, Visual Studio 2010. And I've already run this once. If it's the first time you're running it, you're going to get a little pop-up that's going to ask you if you what tools you want to install. That is, what view do you want. Normally I would select the business intelligence. So down here we're going to say new project, and I'm going to move it on down to analysis services. See, I'm up here on BI. So if I move this down here, I get this import, and that's what I want to look at. So I'm going to double click import, and nothing else really matters here. I'm going to go next. Localhost is the name of my server. And I want to bring down OLAP, my Analysis Services Processor. And I'll say next. Blah, 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 blah. Give it a second to finish. All right, she's done. Good. And I'll click finish up in here. Now I'm going to look at this data sources just for laughs and see what my impersonation is. And you see this is work Ron. My name is Ron. I'm the author. And that's the name of the server that I actually installed that in, but I'm logged on as student. So I'm going to say use the credentials of the current user, and I'm going to say OK. And now I'm going to come down here and take a look at the cube, and I double clicked on my cube, and now you can come in and I can see my views. So now here's my design of my cubes. Let's come down here. Yellow is the fact table, blue are dimension tables. As we come down there and you see we have a number of fact tables that we use. So off of the cube structure, again, here's operation, and if I expand out the measure group, sales, here we come down there, there's sales amount that we just looked at, and I can look at the properties of that, sales amount, and come through and say it, my formatting string, ID, etc. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Move that back over. Okay, and let me shrink this up some. Down here is my dimensions. So if I come down here and look at my dimensions, such as, if I can find it, there's geography. And here's that geography hierarchy that I looked at. And I'm going to click on Edit Geography so I can go in and look at the dimension structure. All right, and here's the attributes within the geography. And here's that geography hierarchy that we looked at. Dot, double dot, triple dot 4. And you see she descends on down here throughout this hierarchy. The relationships between these attributes I can look at by going over to Attribute Relationship tab. And now you see I've got this one out to the other. So here we have a standard PK-FK relationship. The geography key to the city names, so we can discover this all the way through. So we have a move up path for continent name. All right, so we can summarize, and a drill down path. This is really important. Later on, when we get over into a SharePoint and we take a look at that, you're going to come in, and when we're in like performance point, we'll come in and we'll create reports and use the decomposition tree, and this will decompose based on the hierarchies that we have set up. So again, let's go back. Here's my dimension structure, and let me drop out of this window and go back over to my cube structure. Here's dimension usage. This is fairly important. So here we have my dimensions as I move down and across the top, the y-axis here, I have my measure groupings. So for example, here's sales. As when I drop down, you can see that the sales measure group has a relationship into date, store name, etc., where it's gray. For example here, machine is not related into sales. And if I ran a query back in the browser with sales and I sliced it by machine, let's see what happens. So now let's go, we've got sales down in here, and let's go down and find the dimension we're trying to play with. Here's machine, and let's take, I don't care, machine name. And I'll right click that and I'll add it down here to the query, and you notice this stunning statistical aberration that I have the exact same numbers here. And that's because there is no relationship here. In the land of MDX, and all these queries run on multidimensional expressions, MDX, if there is no relationship here, we return the default member, which says everything, and that's what you got going up here. Calculations, see if I have any calculations. So I have a number of calculations we do within this cube. Like, for example, here's net sales. So this gives me net sales, and this is contained within the cube. Again, this is very handy. So from the measures group, I've got the sales amount minus sales discount amount, and that gives me net sales, so it's easy for the user to come through and take a look at that. KPIs, if I find any KPIs, which we have some KPIs defined within the cubes. Actions, so I have these different actions. If I have any actions defined, I'm not going to go into that. My partitions, I have the data partitioned on out. And these different partitions, these different storage mechanisms that we use. Again, the partitioning is an enterprise feature. This is, if you have enterprise, I assume you have a lot of data, and that's a very nice little feature. Aggregations, we have done aggregations. Creating aggregations is a non-trivial task. And aggregations comes through and does pre-calculations. Perspectives is a way of coming through, and you see these, I've got the sales perspective and inventories perspectives. So for your end users, this is very nice. Those that are interested in sales are not interested, such as in IT machine downtime, which we all know it's never down. So what we've got down here is we set up a perspective for the user so that their mind isn't cluttered with stuff they don't need. We have enough going on. And translations over here, if I have actually translations, and here's the browser, and that's going to throw me an error because I haven't deployed this out. I just imported this over here now. And let's see. So much for a quick tour of analysis services, or what we're calling today in SQL 2012 the multi-dimensional model, as opposed to the tabular model or the business intelligence semantic model.